Hi, Lenny Sharp here, Sharp Mountain Homes team of eXp Realty and Yosemite Area STR Investors YouTube channel. So when you buy a short-term rental in the Yosemite area, what are your guests coming for? What's the main attraction? And it's not exclusively the only reason they come, but since most visitors come to visit Yosemite, and many of those guests are avid hikers, hiking in Yosemite is definitely a big draw. So in today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into several of the most spectacular hikes in the park. We're going to be using the All Trails app, which I have on my phone and which we recommend to guests. It's a great resource to plan your hikes, understand the level of difficulty, how much time you need to allocate. And it's just a great way to explore the specific hikes that you want to take in the park. We're going to take a deep dive into those hikes, let you know exactly what you can expect, and help your guests pick a hike that's most appropriate for them, that they will enjoy, and will make their stay in your short-term rental a memorable event for years to come. So let's get started. The main attraction for our area is Yosemite, and some of the key sites to see are all about the hiking trails in the park. So we're going to take a look at some of those and also share some video and photos that I've taken and also are on the All Trails app. We use All Trails extensively to highlight the specific hiking trails that we want to take, and it rates them by difficulty as well as quality and hiker enjoyment. So we see here the top trails in Yosemite, Vernal and Nevada Falls via Mist Trail. We've taken that hike a few times and we have some footage and some content to share there. Upper Yosemite Falls Trail as well. A group of friends and I hiked Half Dome. So Half Dome actually requires a permit, and one workaround is to get a wilderness permit to overnight at several campsites, and if you do that, the permits are a little easier to come by. Otherwise, there's a waiting list for the single day hike to the top of Half Dome. And again, these other hikes that are identified here, some of them are essentially subsets of the larger hikes. We'll go through a couple of these in detail. First of all, Vernal and Nevada Falls via Mist Trail. So if we click on this, you can see exactly where the hike takes you. The All Trails app gives you a map, so you can see this is a difficult hike, and it is about 6.4 miles long. Estimated time is 4 hours and 10 minutes to do this hike. And again, the difficulty is partly related to the elevation gain, and you can see here that it's a loop. So basically you're going to have a starting point and then you're going to loop around. You actually come down the John Muir Trail, and then here we can expand this map so you can take a little closer look. So here's the trailhead. You hike up the Mist Trail all the way up to Vernal Falls first, and then Nevada Falls, and then down the John Muir Trail, some switchbacks, and then back to your starting point. So that will give you a bit of a concept for the hike difficulty. You can see that 4.9 rating overall, almost 20,000 reviews. And then if you click into the photos, some of these are posted by the app and some of them are posted by actual hikers. You can see Rachel Ray posted a few photos. You've got these granite steps as you reach Vernal Falls. Anyway, it's just some spectacular views, a difficult hike, great workout, but I think you'll definitely enjoy it, and it's on our must hike list for guests that ask us about hikes in Yosemite, but not to be missed. So the Mist Trail, again, access to both Vernal and Nevada Falls. So if we'll back up, this is the Upper Yosemite Falls Trail. This is also a difficult hike. You can see 6.6 miles, longer duration, and even more elevation gain. Click into the map here. This one you start in the valley. There's a lower Yosemite Falls hike, which we'll also show you, which is nice, easy hike to see the falls. But as you can see, you go all the way up to the top of Nevada Falls, and then this is a out and back hike. So it's not a loop, but also extremely picturesque. You get a lot of views of the valley from the top of the hike and on the way up. You can see an idea of the terrain. These lookout points, you've got safety railing, although I must mention that in general, hiking Yosemite is not for the faint of heart, and there are plenty of places you can fall off the edge, so you do have to be careful. But you can see here from the top of the falls, and then depending on the time of year, there's going to be more or less water in the falls. And at some times of the year, there will be actually no water running. So you've got to time that accordingly. You can see here the snow in the opposite rim of the valley. That snow is providing the runoff that is generating the water that you see. Yosemite Falls is one of the tallest waterfalls in North America, and also definitely a site that you do not want to miss if you're hiking in Yosemite. Move on to the next one. This Lower Yosemite Falls Trail, this is a nice hike for less experienced hikers. It's rated easy. It's only 1.2 miles. This version is also a loop, and there's a couple of points where you can enjoy seeing the falls from the bottom, where it is very spectacular. And again, depending on the time of the year, you're going to see some really aggressive water falling, and other times of the year it might be just a trickle or non-existent. But a nice easy hike if you're just kind of warming up as you approach your Yosemite hiking adventure. So I'm going to focus on some of the hikes that I've got photos and footage of. This one is the 4-mile trail. This is the first hike I took when I moved up here to the area. You can see you start again in the valley. You go up pretty much the side of the hill, switchbacks for the steepest parts, and then you actually make your way to Glacier Point, which has one of the most spectacular vantage points for Half Dome. So this is also a very good hike. If you want to do it as a one-way versus an out and back, of course, you'll have to have some teamwork because somebody will have to pick you up at Glacier Point. They can drive in and there's plenty of parking. But at this moment in time, I believe Glacier Point Road is still closed, so the only way to reach it is to hike, which is what I'm showing you here. And again, another strong elevation gain of over 3,400 feet and over 6 hours out and back and almost 10 miles. But you can see when you get up to the top, there are some spectacular views of the valley, spectacular views of Yosemite Falls across the way there. And you can see Half Dome from several vantage points. This is before you get to Glacier Point. But again, just the sheer granite rock, spectacular rising out of the valley. And this is an amazing hike and worth it if you want some spectacular views. And again, what's nice is the various hikes around the north side or the south side. Every hike will give you different vantage points. So you get to experience Yosemite in a new way, depending on which hike you take. So let's scroll down. This one is actually not on my list in terms of my own footage, but I'm going to share it here. This is at Mariposa Grove, which is right at the entrance of the south gate of Yosemite, which is nice because that's only about a 30-minute drive from most areas in Oakhurst. And if you want, again, maybe on your first day or your last day, This is a great spot to go to just experience nature, see spectacular giant sequoias, and again, without as much driving as would be required if you're going to go all the way to the valley. Quickly, this is the map, and you can see the trailhead is there right near the entrance of the south gate, and then you just hike up and back, and plenty of very large, very old trees on this hike. Now we're going to back up to Cloud's Rest. So this is another one I did with some friends of mine a couple of times. You start up on Tioga Pass. You can see Tenaya Lake, and then you're going to actually make your way out to the tip of Cloud's Rest, which is actually 1,000 feet above the top of Half Dome. So you're actually looking down at Half Dome from a different angle than you normally see in photos. Again, spectacular views. Can get a little bit scary on the hike because there's a sheer drop off on both sides of the trail. And you're going to get a sense of that from the video I will share. But again, Yosemite from a completely different vantage point, and again, spectacular in almost every way. So let's take a look now at this one here, which includes Taft Point. So this is a hike again on the south rim of the valley. You can see the map here. The trailhead is on Glacier Point Road, so Glacier Point Road has to be open. And this particular version will take you out to Taft Point, which is an excellent vantage point to see the valley, both ends, as well as then a loop that goes to Sentinel Dome, which is another vantage point, which is spectacular. This is a very good hike. It's considered moderate. So we've got easy, we've got hard, mini hard hikes. This one is just a little over 5 miles, 2.5 hours, only 1,000 feet or 1,100 feet elevation gains. This might be in the middle of your trip and you maybe have had some tough hikes and you're not ready to give up on it yet and you want to see, again, a new perspective. So this is a good option. I think that will cover most of it. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at the Half Dome hike. So this one here is showing hiking Half Dome from the Little Yosemite Valley campground. So this is not starting at the valley floor. This is assuming that you've made that trip up Mist Trail, past Vernal Falls, past Nevada Falls, and you overnight at Little Yosemite, which is what we did with our group. And this is the next day when you're going to go ahead and leave from your campsite and go all the way to the top of Half Dome, which is almost 9,000 feet elevation. So we'll grab some photos of this hike. There's obviously some spots that aren't too tough, but you're going to get to the spot eventually where you're going to find the cables. In the winter, they're down. So, of course, they're not encouraging anyone to go up on Half Dome when there's snow on the ground. We actually lost a hiker last year. It wasn't snow, but it was wet, and she slipped and fell to her death. So, again, Yosemite is a place that you have to be very careful. There are a lot of spots that you can experience some danger, and it can even be deathly. So, looks like these photos are pretty much during the summer. Okay, here's one. You can see, so the tip of Half Dome that you see normally from the other side is right here. That's a nice spot that people like to go out and look down. And this is the ascent. So these cables here, this isn't too crowded. It was a lot more people when we climbed, but there's like wood slats that are bolted into the granite, not on every step. You've got to have good grip on your boots or shoes. And then you've got cables on both sides that you can use to secure yourself, give you a little confidence. But it is a bit challenging, and it is, again, spectacular views from the top. And if you can get the appropriate permit and take this hike, I am certain you will not regret it. It is something to be proud of, and it's an experience that you'll look back fondly for years to come. So that is Half Dome. let's go back and check and see if there are some other hikes that we want to highlight for you. This one, yeah, if you want to do Clouds Rest the hard way, you actually leave from the valley. We came up the backside, which is tough enough, but this is essentially what we did when we climbed Half Dome. So we didn't do it in one day, we actually did it in 3 days. But you leave the valley, you're passing the Half Dome trailhead here, and then you literally climb up the front face of Clouds Rest and get that view. Again, we came off the back side, but if you want to do it the hard way, they need to have a category for extremely hard, because this is over 18 miles, over 6,000 feet of elevation gain, and almost 12 hours. So this certainly is a tough one. Experienced, very well conditioned hikers only. So I think maybe we'll just touch on this one now. Again, I don't have other photos or video from this. Bridalveil is the first waterfall that you see when you come into the valley on Highway 41. You'll go through Tunnel View, where you'll get a nice panoramic view of the entire valley, including El Cap on one side and Half Dome on the other in the distance. If you come in that way, take a little detour. It's right on the road here. You can just take your little hike up to the base of Bridalveil for a nice view. And you can see this is easy, less than a mile, 21 minutes. So everybody's got time for this one. But again, the views of the falls are spectacular if you go ahead and take the little hike. Depending on the time of year, it may be rushing. And you can see how it got its name. It looks like a bridal veil, which is, you can see here the mist splashing at the bottom. Certain times of the year, you'll get wet, people in raincoats, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But again, nice easy hike and a good one to get acquainted with one of the iconic images in Yosemite. So that's the deep dive into several of the most popular hikes. You can see them distributed around the valley here in terms of the trailheads. The valley is about an hour-and-a-half drive from Oakhurst, so plan your day. Yosemite hikes are a big draw. Many of your guests you're going to find stay in your Airbnb and they leave early in the morning before the sun comes up, and you don't see them till late in the evening. They might come back to town after the restaurants have closed, which is a bummer for them. But yeah, we tend to get visitors that are avid hikers. That's definitely a huge portion of the demographic for this area, and it's a good community of people. They really appreciate the opportunity to come here and hike Yosemite. We talk to a lot of people from all around the world that have been dreaming of coming to Yosemite their entire life, and they need a nice, comfortable place to stay, and your short-term rental may fit the bill. So that's one of the reasons why we are invested in this area, providing a valuable service to the nearly 4 million visitors to Yosemite every year.